Last night, we introduced you to Fred Gregory, the first African-American to pilot a space shuttle. Tonight, he tells us what it was like in outer space. Byron Scott has our story.
I came up with a goal for my life, and my goal was to have fun and make a contribution. And so whenever the fun disappeared or waned, then I looked for and sought a different career.
For Fred Gregory, that meant flying helicopters in Vietnam, graduating from the Air Force Academy in Colorado, 5 years as a NASA test pilot, and then deciding to apply to the space agency to become an astronaut.
NASA also hired Lieutenant Uhura, Nichelle Nichols, and they brought her on to encourage minorities and women to apply for the program.
Gregory joined NASA in the late 1970s. His first shuttle flight was April 29, 1985. It was the first time an African American piloted a space shuttle. This is video of the crew walking out to the orbiter, and this is the actual launch of the space shuttle that day.
I was anxious.
Anxious for many reasons. Consider the gravitational forces of liftoff.
I equate it to something like an old roller coaster, old wooden one, not a new modern one, but an old one. And it's kind of shake, rattle, and rolls you.
The spacecraft went from 0 to 17,500 miles per hour in 8.5 minutes, at which point Gregory and the crew were in space. And that, he says, is when his perception of reality shifted.
At first, it's so foreign that you are just essentially stunned, and you know, like you're like this, looking, because there's so much. It's like an overload.
But he says the crew settled in.
And you essentially forget about the burdens of walking or sitting, or what gravity forces you to do, and you've just moved into this new realm.
And then there were the perceptions of time.
Because as you circle the Earth every hour and a half, in that hour and a half, 45 minutes of it will be bright sunlight. And then, bam, it's pitch black for 45 minutes. And then it's bam, it's daylight. So if you're going to use daylight, sunset, night as a sense of your time, then you're going to be really confused.
In this case, this is about my second day.
Gregory says the crew was able to bring its own food, so he called a barbecue joint in Georgia.
It was Fincher's Barbecue. They sent a brisket over to Houston, and they sliced it and packaged it, dehydrated it. Also, Snickers. I took Snickers all the time because I just love it. It's got everything you need in it: chocolate, peanuts, and caramel.
Gregory, who would command 2 other shuttle flights on Discovery and Atlantis, made his first flight on the Challenger.
I believe the accident occurred on the 10th flight of the Orbiter Challenger. I flew it on its 7th mission. The rest of the world looked at it as a loss of the Challenger. I saw it as a loss of friends.
Gregory says the very real possibility of death was something they all had to overcome, even as they strove to reach their dreams.
So you begin to open up your vista to say, well, are there any limitations out there? Is there something the human can't do? And that's what was intriguing about it.
Byron Scott, CTV News.
Thank you for that very intriguing story. Gregory continues to give talks around the area and mentor young people. Now,